Father George EHUSANI, you're welcome.
I like to speak on the 21st century and young people. I already alluded to what I was about to say now during Mass. The challenge of meaningful and purposeful existence for young people in the 21st century is a major challenge. We are in a century at a time that life for many has become plastic, hollow, shallow, opaque, empty, futile. We're in a century where emptiness is portrayed. Emptiness is traded as content. As a result of which, perhaps the greatest crisis we have today is what Viktor Frankl, the Vienna School of Psychoanalysis expert, Viktor Frankl, founder of logotherapy, what he calls existential nihilism. The feeling that nothing has meaning. The feeling that everything is meaningless, futile. The sense of nothingness and meaninglessness is beginning to overwhelm the 21st century world. I did say at Mass that we are beneficiaries of the rotten part of Western civilization, of the Euro-American civilization that I observed is a dying civilization. We are beneficiaries of the rotten aspect of it because the last 200 years has witnessed the ascendancy of the Euro-American civilization that has given so much to the world in terms of technological advancement and professionalization, which has given us so much in science and in technology. And from the period of the Enlightenment until today, we are beneficiaries of so much in terms of human advancement that the average human being today has the comfort, has the opportunity for good health and the comfort that even emperors could not have dreamt about 500 years ago. However, the paradox of human life is that we are constantly looking for the easy way out. All of us human beings are constantly looking for the easy way out. Even when we know that nothing good comes easy. You know that, don't you? Graduating students. We are constantly looking for the easy way out, even when we know that nothing good comes easy. We are constantly drawn to the glamorous part in life, even when we recognize that not all that glitters is gold. We are constantly looking for more and more power, more and more pleasure, more and more wealth, and of course for more and more prestige and popularity and celebrity status, even when we know that these things do not necessarily bring fulfillment or contentment. We put all our attention and all our energies into pursuing wealth and pleasure and power, seeking to find happiness in these ways. Yet we know, deep within, we know that these things in themselves do not bring happiness. This contradiction in the human being is precisely what St. Augustine meant when he said that men and women pursue happiness even when they live in such a way as to render happiness impossible. Please say it after me. St. Augustine said, 1, men and women pursue happiness even when they live in such a way as to render happiness impossible. With all the distractions of our age, many people find it difficult to reflect on the fundamental question of life's ultimate meaning or purpose. We prefer to just live through each day, struggling for space, competing for power, grabbing as many toys as we could find along the way, rather than engage in the more philosophical question of the essence and the purpose of human existence. Why are we here? Why are we alive? What is the purpose of my life? These are the most important questions that every adult should ask himself. But I bet that many never really sit down to ask themselves these questions. Instead, we compete for power, compete for pleasure. We often get so engrossed in the rat race to succeed in business, to get to the top in politics, and to become social celebrities that we miss out on what truly matters and what really gives meaning to life. Indeed, today we are all under such intense pressure to live on the fast lane, to live like the Joneses, to consume more and more of the goods of the world, to indulge in more and more pleasures, and to acquire more and more personal freedom, that we have little time left to ask ourselves the meaning of all these earthly preoccupations. But the Greek philosopher Socrates had observed that a life not reflected upon is not worth living. It's a useless life. As human beings, we are created with a purpose. Our ultimate fulfillment and happiness lie in the realization of that purpose. As human beings, we were designed in such a way that we can neither find happiness nor attain fulfillment within ourselves, no matter how much we try. As human beings, we are wired in such a way that ultimate fulfillment and happiness lie beyond us. No degree of academic or professional success can buy us happiness. No amount of material wealth and pleasure can buy us happiness. No degree of political power and security can buy us happiness. No level of popularity or celebrity status can provide for us the joy and the peace or the authentic happiness which is only available in God, our Creator. Indeed, the human heart hungers and thirsts after something much beyond all that is available to acquire in this material world. This is why Kohelet, the author of Ecclesiastes, exclaimed in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 to 15, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Sadly, my friends, very sadly, only a few people get to discover this fact of life in their journey through life. So many people are spending their lives living destructive lives of debauchery and ending up in futility and nihilism. St. Augustine discovered this truth in the middle of his life, and he exclaimed, "Lord, you have created us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." Indeed, St. Augustine, who had a spectacular Christian conversion in his early 30s, thereafter wrote a powerful poem, which is a classic, lamenting the years he had wasted pursuing a life of vanity, lusting after sensual pleasure, while ignoring the great beauty and the Creator of all beautiful things, who constantly beckoned on him. The poem is titled, "Late Have I Loved You." We are witnessing today what appears to me to be an epidemic of widespread thoughtlessness. Widespread thoughtlessness. As a result of which many people are leading very destructive lives, very meaningless lives, very empty and futile lives. We are witnessing a major crisis in marriage and family life, and a major crisis in parenting. In recent times, I have been speaking a lot about the challenge of parenting and the role of the school and everyone who teaches, who is a staff in a school, to reparent children who have not been properly parented. In fact, we have a lot of young men and women who have not been properly parented who are becoming parents. And people who have not been properly parented becoming parents are causing a lot of harm in our society. We can see the effects all over the place. Yes, we are witnessing dysfunctional families and crisis in parenting, on account of which the lives of many of our young people are devoid of strong moral foundations. We are witnessing in the generation of young people to which this graduating class belongs, we are witnessing what some of us perceive as heightened individualism, gross indiscipline, and crass materialism. We are witnessing today the culture of instant gratification, the widespread glamorization of pleasure, and the senseless idolization of the champions of the modern entertainment industry, including sports, music, movie, and comedy celebrities. Yes, crass indiscipline and crass materialism. Yes, we are witnessing today the spread of the culture of instant gratification, the widespread glamorization of pleasure, and the senseless idolization of the champions of the modern entertainment industry, including sports celebrities, music celebrities, comedy celebrities, movie celebrities. Yes, we are witnessing in our day what has been described as acute celebrity syndrome. Acute, and some of you parents can see that in your children. That is, if you yourself don't have that disease. Acute celebrity syndrome, by which popular TV personalities, popular social media personalities, popular movie, music, and comedy celebrities, as well as beauty pageants, are not only treated like objects of worship while they are performing on stage, but they have become the most powerful influencers of our young people's behavior. Yes, celebrities of the entertainment industry and social media are adored, glamorized, and even deified, meaning given the honor that used to be given to deities, deified by our young people. Even, listen to me, even when many of these celebrities are chronic alcoholics and pitiable drug addicts, even when many of these celebrities are terrible sexual deviants and confused sensual perverts, even when many of these celebrities are such cognitively disoriented and socially dysfunctional persons that they should normally be kept away in an asylum. But they have largely become, quote unquote, the moral influencers of a good number of our vulnerable and gullible young people who have often not had, many of them have often not had the benefit of good parenting, and perhaps who have not had the good fortune of coming by closely by powerful godly mentors among their teachers in the course of their sojourn through school. These so-called social celebrities, who are largely champions of the 21st century global hedonistic culture, they are often champions of the 21st century opaque, hollow, and shallow culture. These celebrities are now dictating much of the conduct of our young people, including some of those graduating today. Yet, some of the most popular global and national celebrities are now and again reported to be suffering from chronic depression. Yes or no? Yes. They are now and again reported to be going in and out of drug rehabilitation centers. True or false? They are now and again reported to die of drug overdose. True or false? They are now and again reported to commit suicide. True or false? From Whitney Houston to Bobby Brown, her daughter. From Michael Jackson to Chelsea Christ, the 2019 Miss USA, who jumped to her death from the window of a 23-story New York building in February this year. Yes, the year 2022 alone, and those of you who are interested, please Google it. The year 2022 alone has recorded a shockingly high number of celebrities who have taken their own lives. This year alone, from Nigeria to South Africa, from Canada to USA, the number of celebrities that our children are so enamored about who have taken their own lives. In this year, 2022 alone, they are not 2 or 3. They are in 10s or 20s. Why are they taking their lives? Why are they getting depressed? Perhaps because in spite of their rich and comfortable lives of glamour, and in spite of their celebrity status that make them an object of envy for many of us, in spite of their being adored and deified by millions of fans across the world, including our children, perhaps in spite of these apparent successes, they themselves have found their lives to be empty, futile, hollow, and a source of pain. Thus, as our young people glamorize and idolize the Naira Marleys, as our young people idolize and glamorize the Portables, as our young people idolize and glamorize the Bobrisky's, as our young people idolize and glamorize such Nollywood and Instagram celebrities who are sick enough, who are mad enough to promote the smoking of marijuana on stage, who are sick enough to strip themselves naked in public, who are sick enough to record themselves in sex videos and shamelessly post them on internet for the whole world to watch. As our young people hail, applaud, and idolize these socially dysfunctional and mentally deranged celebrities, I am left to wonder. Yes, I am left to wonder what has happened to the disciplined political legacies of Mrs. Funmilayo Ransome Kuti. What has happened to the political legacies of Chief Michael Opara, of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, of Chief Anthony Enahoro, and of Alhaji Aminu Kano? As our young people follow these sick men and women, these dysfunctional deviants, I am left to ask what has happened to the outstanding academic legacies of Professor Ishaya Audu, first Nigerian Vice Chancellor of ABU. I'm asked to ask what has happened to the legacies of Professor Ango Abdullahi of ABU, of the legacies of Professor Ayodele Awojobi and Professor Chike Obi of University of Lagos. I am left to ask what has happened to the legacy of Professor Grace Alele Williams of University of Benin, or Professor Lillian Salami of Uniben. I am left to ask, as I watch our young people turn these sick people into their celebrities, I am left to ask what has happened to the legacies of Professor Adeoye Lambo, of Professor Oluke Ransome Kuti, of Professor Umaru Shehu. What has happened to the outstanding legacies of our literary icons in this country? Professor Wole Soyinka, Professor Olalurtimi, Professor Chinua Achebe, and Professor John Pepe Clark. What has happened to the exceptionally brilliant legacies of our women, Professor Joy Ogu of Political Science, Professor Jade Sholak, and the first woman professor of law in Nigeria, Professor Bolanle Awe, Professor of History? What has happened to their legacies? Parents, didn't you tell your children stories about these people? And if you did not tell your children stories about these people, then I hold you responsible for turning Portable and Bobrisky as their mentors. I ask, what has happened to the legacies of Timmy Delore, Chief F.R. Williams? Timmy Delore, first Nigerian senior advocate of Nigeria. What has happened to the legacy of Gani Fawehimi, human rights crusader and senior advocate of the poor masses? What has happened to the legacies of Chief Chukwudifo Oputa, of Justice Chukwudifo Oputa? What has happened to the decent legacies of such pioneer? Because let's say, if a lot of people are interested in entertainment, right? So what has happened to the legacies of such pioneer Nigerian actors and broadcasters as Joker Silva? You remember? Joker Silva, Anike Williams, and Sine Orwell Brown. What has happened? Didn't you tell your children about them? What has happened to the excellent legacies of Professor Victor Owaifu of the Jerome fame, Onyeka Uwenu, Sonny Okosun, and Christy Bokwe, and Nico Ngbaga of the Sweet Mother fame? What has happened to their legacies? Were they not entertainers too? If what we are discussing is clean, decent entertainment, why didn't you show your children these people? What has happened to the wonderful legacies of Chief Philip Asiodu, Super Permanent Secretary, who left a record of clean service? As our children keep hearing of Accountant General of the Federation or some permanent secretary stealing billions, did you tell your children that there were people like Dr. Christopher Kolade in the civil service? Did you tell them that there were people like Chief Asiodu in the civil service who left a legacy of clean service? Yes. Did you tell our children that among entertainers and broadcasters, we once had Moji Mokanjuola, Eugenia Abu, and Cyril Stober as broadcasters in this country? Who will help me? And perhaps, Father Chikere, you may help here, because you spoke of a secondary school resource center, that the Jesuits are thinking of a resource center to look into the curriculum of secondary school. Who will help me? And I dare say, let the Jesuits help me, so that we can reinstitute in our school system a dynamic and functional study of contemporary history and civic education, to convince our children and the young adults who are today enamored by the lives of these sick celebrities, these social deviants, our young people who are enamored by the lives of these sick social deviants, that the Nigerian public square has not altogether been devoid of people of respectability. That Nigerian public square has not been naked, has not been denuded. That the Nigerian society is not bereft of honorable and adorable elders. And that post-independence Nigeria is full of exemplary politicians. All appearances notwithstanding, post-independence Nigeria has been full of exemplary politicians, academics, professionals, and entertainers who have left us with a legacy of decency, excellence, integrity, self-sacrifice, and purposeful existence. Now, in spite of the exceptionally brilliant legacies left by the above academics and professionals that I mentioned, and in spite of the record of their personal lives of integrity, meaning, and purpose, sadly, we are about to lose millions of our young people whose teeth are today on edge, as it were, because their immediate fathers and elders and their immediate leaders have eaten sour grapes. We are about to lose millions of young people who are constipated because their immediate mothers and elder sisters and leaders have eaten the forbidden fruit. Our young people, like their peers elsewhere in the world, are blessed with numerous talents, and they are full of energy and ingenuity. But they lack the necessary pride in their motherland. I bet that most of these young people who are graduating today will not have much of what you call pride in a motherland or fatherland because of what we have made of the country in recent decades. Yes, our youths are highly resourceful and creative, but they are often devoid of any sense of purpose, meaning, and direction. Our children have often not been adequately parented, nor adequately taught, nor have they been shown practical examples of truth and justice, love and compassion, sacrifice and patriotism, such as were manifested in the lives of the above patriarchs and matriarchs, enough to motivate them. When our young people see the hypocrisy of today's adult society, they convince themselves that there is no truth or justice in the world. They make up their mind that there is no such thing as love and compassion. They conclude that the world is one big jungle, largely inspired by the principle of mutual exploitation and often governed by the law of the survival of the fittest and the triumph of the villain. Even more distressing is the fact that our young people seem to have lost hope. And this is the greatest danger. I reason that it is the absence of hope amid hardship and uncertainties that has led many of our young people into the most terrible behaviors that we witness today. When we see our young people becoming beastly in hate, ruthless in violence, and reckless in destruction, we do not need soothsayers and prophets to tell us why. We must own up. Those of us who are in the older generation and the parents, we must own up to our young people that we have betrayed our fatherland and failed to lay the necessary foundation for a prosperous future. We must own up to the fact that we have often stolen food off the hands of our children. Each one of us is guilty to the extent that we have contributed in some way to the mess of the moment by our corrupt and selfish lifestyle. As parents, as teachers and preachers, as elders, we have often failed to inspire our young people to live a life of righteousness. As leaders and elders, we have often failed to be a beacon of light. Instead, we have often been a source of scandal for our own children and the children of our country. Yes, in the past, we have seen too many leaders and elders that are habitual violators of truth and outright liars. Many leaders and elders in the country have over and over again sacrificed truth and integrity on the altar of greed and in exchange for the lust for power. There is therefore serious work to do by all of us who belong to the adult society in Nigeria if we are not to kill tomorrow before today's sun sets. Those who seek to bestow hope on the coming generation must commit themselves to such values that make for nation building as truth and honesty and justice and equity. There is work to be done for the adult society if we must bestow hope on the young people. The time has come for repentance. For us who are believers in God, the situation may be bad enough, but our situation is not hopeless. We should believe that redemption is possible for our land by the power of God who creates and recreates. And let me tell you, I wrote a poem once called Rejuvenation, and I observed that flowers do not emerge from diamonds, but from manures. Think about it. Can you say it with me? Flowers do not emerge from diamonds, but from manures. Therefore, from the rotten situation of today, a wonderful country, a wonderful society can emerge to the glory of God. We can experience rejuvenation if today we begin to retrace our steps and get back to the basics. We should believe that from the rubble of our shattered motherland, a rich, powerful, peaceful, and united country can emerge by the power of God who puts back flesh on dry bones. This will happen if we identify and get rid of the demons that have bewitched this land for so long. Those who seek to bestow hope on the coming generation must commit themselves to a life of truth and justice and righteousness. Parents must be ready to make sacrifices for the sake of their children, including the sacrifice of time and not just throwing money at the children. The sacrifice of time to be with their children. Children on holidays, for example, spend 24 hours before the internet. Some hardly get 1 hour with their parents. That is not good enough. Teachers must recognize that you teach more by your lives than by your course content. You teach, whether you are teaching mathematics or geography or technical, whatever, it is more your lives that teach than the content that you are delivering. My dear young people, it is true that we your parents and teachers, as well as your political and religious leaders, have often not shown you good enough examples of truth and integrity, of service and sacrifice, of fidelity and chastity. Yet, if you want a better society for yourself, for your children and your children's children, you must reject the foolish pattern of life which has led our nation to the mess of the moment. I urge you to seek after higher values, not the values promoted by Naira Marley, not the values promoted by Bobrisky or Tiwa Savage. I ask you to seek after higher values that will foster national integration, peace, coexistence, and economic prosperity. You must start now cultivating the virtues of sacrificial love, truth, justice, discipline, and patriotism, which alone can bring about the desired peace, fulfillment, and prosperity. If today you and your peers cultivate these virtues, then you would have laid the foundation for a more wholesome future for your country and for the world. I believe that a better Nigeria and a better world is possible. But you must begin to work towards it right now. You must shun crass materialism. You must shun senseless consumerism. You must shun instant gratification and blind pleasure, which have become the dominant passion of your generation. But you will never realize your purpose in life if you allow the inordinate passion of the flesh to overwhelm and enslave you. Instead of seeking escape in the plastic wings of sensual pleasure and the vanity and vainglory daily offered by celebrities on social media, you must seek the fear of God, which the book of Proverbs says is the beginning of wisdom. If today, those of you here who happen to be among the most privileged of Nigerian youths, I often wonder if students like the students of Loyola JESUIT College know that they belong to 1% of the privileged Nigerians, the first 1%. The kind of, you heard the president congratulate and thank your parents. The kind of resources that are needed to see you through 6 years here. There are schools in Nigeria, I bet you, I support some of them. There are schools in Nigeria that the entire school does not have the resources that only you, one individual. Do you know that? Do you know that? If you never knew that, you need to know. And you parents need to let them know. Some people know that I have children under my scholarship scheme. And that I picked these children from a school where they were paying 3,000 naira per term, and some parents could not pay. There are schools that we are supporting where parents had to withdraw their children from boarding school because the state government was not paying salaries and they could not continue to pay 67,000 naira for boarding, and they had to become day students where they were paying 27,000 naira per term. My dear graduating students, do you have a head bigger than the head that those children have? Do you? And so you must be grateful for the privilege that you have. The privilege that your parents have and enable you to have this kind of quality education. I entered this compound today and I saw the environment. Just the environment alone, the privilege of living in this kind of place for 6 years. You must live the rest of your life in gratitude and work towards paying back. What did I say? I want to hear the young people. You see, a lot of our young people have a sense of entitlement. Such a sense of entitlement that they may think that they deserve this. Now, other children deserve this. So, you must work towards doing what? Paying back to the society that gave you this kind of privilege. Yes, if you choose today the culture of life in place of the prevailing culture of crime, if you choose the culture of discipline, service and sacrifice in place of the destructive culture of unmitigated pleasure that is promoted everywhere on social media, then you are sure to have a brighter future ahead of you. If you embrace these higher values, then one day you can sing the national anthem with pride. Ladies and gentlemen, as I round up my address, I want to remind you that the challenge of re-engineering society and effecting a paradigm shift in our social orientation and value prioritization lies squarely on all of us who are sufficiently dissatisfied with the quality of existence of the majority of people in our society today. Those of us who accept the call to take responsibility for the future must now step forward and take the lead. Christians have been constituted into the light of the world and the salt of the earth. We are the ones to show the way to a world groping in the dark and to a humanity that appears to have lost its sense of purpose and direction. Once again, my dear young people in the graduating class, in the course of the last 6 years, the administrators and the teachers of this school would have done their best to inculcate in you some of the best humanistic and Christian values for your wholesome existence and the transformation of our dysfunctional society, according to the well-celebrated educational record of the Jesuits worldwide. As you live today, the challenge is for you to let the seed sown in you these past 6 years grow to maturity and bear fruit for yourselves, for your families, and for your country, and for humanity to the glory of God. With the quality of education that you have received here, a number of you will surely get into positions of power and influence in the increasingly interconnected global society. Wherever you find yourself, in the short term or in the longer term, you must champion the cause of promoting the disciplined, responsible, and purposeful existence in accordance with the spirit of St. Ignatius of Loyola. I challenge you all to begin to reflect upon and discuss seriously creatively new intervention strategies towards changing the face of our society to the glory of God. And let me end with this short story. 3 years ago, every year I take a couple of children from the slum, from some of the slum communities around Abuja on scholarship. And they brought this child, 10 years old, who I have no business with how they conduct the exams. They just bring me the people who passed and who are to sponsor. They brought this child and they said, this is the child, her mother is outside that got the scholarship. I said, okay. So I told the mother, listen, this child is going to secondary school. I'll be responsible for the school fees. I'll be responsible for everything. You just go and buy just the bucket broom, the bucket and broom and things that they need to take to school. And the woman began to cry. As she was crying, I thought she was crying in gratitude. So I tried to find out, why. It's a joyous moment now. She'll be saying, why are you crying? He said, Father, I borrowed money to come here to bring this child to this place. Bucket, broom, mattress, this, Father, there is no way I can buy them. I had to promise to buy those things, and I had to give her transport money to go back home. My dear young people, this is how difficult things are in today's Nigeria, and you were able to attend Loyola Jesuit College. So never you forget, never you forget, never you forget that you are a beneficiary of a Nigeria that is today rotten, and you must do everything you can, wherever you are in the world, to improve the circumstances of the children of this country. God bless you.